and welcome to the Wizard's Respite Sanctorum, show that dives into all things TTRPG. Today, we're doing something that we haven't done for a little bit. We're going to do a deep dive into a TTRPG, an indie game that looks pretty interesting. Zach's played it, and as always, I'm joined with my co-host, Zachariah from Old Man Gaming. Zach!
Hello! Hello, everybody. Super excited to be here. Love this system that we're going to talk about. It's funny that you're like, something we haven't done in a while. The actual show concept, when we first started this, was just going to be this. And has moved into just us talking about role-playing games for an hour.
And it's a lot of topics, but I'm kind of excited we're going back to a deep dive on a cool game. Back to the beginning. This is why I started on pretty much the Wizard's Respite to begin with. I was reading so many RPGs and I wanted to talk about them, so I started writing that out, and now we're doing a show about all things RPGs and games, and
I love this show. I love doing this show. We also keep it light, so I don't go too crazy. Anybody who watches my video game show knows that this is a constant problem with me going mad about the industry. But I do love doing this show. I do love talking about it. I love talking about the concepts. It's crazy because I've been playing role-playing games for, like 30 years at this point, and it's only recently have I gotten to share that with the world, that is kind of in part because of your influence on our channel, and it becoming kind of a hybrid TTRPG video game channel instead of just the video game channel, which I think it's better off. But it's really exciting time in my life to be able to share these games with people and just talk about my experiences with 30 years of RPGs, and yeah, Touchstone, no different. Love this game. And I do want to say this. If at some point we could get Cyrus Rites to come on the show so we could interview him, I would love that. I would absolutely love that. Because before we get started low-key, as a video game writer, as a role-playing game writer, a TTRPG writer, I have Axiom Games LLC. I got Single Mod. I do that stuff. This guy is low-key my role model. Like, he puts out extremely simple systems, very easy to understand systems with a lot of procedural generation and random generation in it that you can read in an afternoon and play in an afternoon. And this guy's games, I love this guy's games. I want to build houses on this guy's games.
For sure, yeah. When I read over this game, you had talked about it a bit, and when I read it over, it's such an easy read. The rule system, it just makes sense. It's super intuitive. I could see, like, when you use this game in the other show that you're doing, the bite-sized games.
Yes.
I mean, it just makes so much sense why you chose this one, how fluid it is, how quick it is, and how intuitive it is. And it's really easy to see how you were able to just jump straight into it. Yeah, it's a fantastic game. So let me ask you, how did you stumble upon this particular game, this particular system?
Cyrus Rites actually reached out to me on I can't remember if it was Itch or X or where the original message came from. I feel like it was Itch, because so Cyrus Rites is a TTRPG guy from TTRPG Twitter /X, which we're constantly we're constantly talking about here, and he actually liked Single Mod some time ago, and I follow all of his games as well. I have this problem with Itch because all of Cyrus Rites' games are free that I've seen. He does not ask for a dime for any of them. He is a better man than me. And he and the problem I have is like I feel like I need to give them money to play it. You know what I mean? Like I know it's free and I want to just take it, but at the same time, like I don't want to not give you money for your hard work. So I
Right.
hadn't jumped into a lot of his games. I had seen them, I had wanted to, but it was one of those like I have this playlist on itch where it's just like games I'm eventually going to buy when I have money, and just basically like there's a lot of games on there that are free, but I just don't want to play them or get them until I can at least give them like $2 or $3, you know.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
He reached
Guys,
out to
support
me
the
on
indie guys.
he reached out to me on itch and was like straight up like, I'd like you to play this game. I'd like your thoughts on it, which was kind of crazy because we had not really had any personal interaction. I mean, we had gone back and forth on X on a few threads here or there. We really
Yeah.
hadn't had any like conversation about it. He was just like, "Hey, here's a copy of this game. Play this game. Tell me what you think of it." So I was like, "Sure." So I read it over and I sent back to him. I think it's really cool. I think it's really nice and simple. I actually really want to play it. I had been looking for so my daughter is 8, Stella. She has been up and down with role playing games. She's very gaming oriented. She likes video games. She likes Uno. She likes card games and stuff like that. But role playing games hadn't really had the connect with her in our previous attempts. So I wanted to try again this summer, and it's weird too because some kids just aren't into role playing games, you know. And I don't want to be that dad. Like it's funny. Like you have a friend who will be like, I would never force my kid to play sports, and then they'll sit there and force them to do like a model with them for like 2 hours, and I'm like,
Right.
yeah, are you sure they want to do that? Like that's basically forcing them to do football. It's just the thing that you like. It's the same equation. So I never wanted to be that kind of parent where like you're gonna play role playing games because role playings are great. You're gonna like role playing games. You're gonna watch the shows that I like because they're great. You know, I want to
Yeah.
just let her find her own way. But I wanted to give it another shot. The previous experience. I'm sorry, I'm getting long winded on this, but the previous experiences that we had were negative because the system was too complicated once, which that's on me. And then the second time she didn't like it because I was the bad guy. I was always the bad guy. Like because I was pretending to be the GM. She doesn't have any sisters or brothers. So it's basically like her versus daddy. And she didn't really like that.
Right.
So this time around, I really wanted a system that was A, super simple, numbers light, that she could understand. And then B, a system that had some sort of procedural generation to it so that I could kind of play with her and we could ask the dice questions, almost how Roll and Tell used to do it when they were still on. The thing is, though, is Roll and Tell uses this game, not this game, but this supplement called, oh God, I'm not going to
Dungeon
remember.
World.
It's not Dungeon World's the game they use. The supplement for asking questions though is the one that everybody uses. It's it's gonna drive me nuts because I know it. But and it's the one that everybody uses for procedural generation for no game masters. And it goes on that chaos system where like
Yeah.
as chaos goes up, it gets harder to keep the story in check. I cannot remember it, but that is a really cool system. I love that system. It is too complex and too much. I needed something just simple, straight, that I could just ask questions to. So, now that my long-winded prattle is over, Touchstone was perfect for it when I read it. Like, it was the first thing I thought was I want to play this with my daughter and see if she enjoys it. It's got 3 stats. You only ever roll 1d6, period. That's the only thing you're rolling. You're adding very limited things to it. And then there is a very simple oracle system in here, as well as some simple procedural generation tables for generating the story around you, so that you can kind of go from there. And it's just worked perfectly. You mentioned my show, so I didn't have to be that guy. But now that you've opened the door, me and Stella decided to record it. And it's called Bite Size Games. It's on Spotify and our YouTube channel, Old Man Gaming. You can also see it here at wizardsrespite.com. And basically, it is me and Stella playing games for small periods of time. We played for like, I want to say like 2 hours, and then I cut it into little 15-minute episodes. So you can see the game kind of in action. And yeah, that's why I picked it for that.
Yeah.
Now that I've eaten up a fourth of the show with my prattle.
No, I mean, that's perfect. That's because, you had kind of a problem that you needed fixing. You had your daughter, you wanted to get her into these games. She's of a certain age where you have to pick a game that is sort of like age appropriate, both for her math skills. You don't want something like super crunchy where you're having to pull out a calculator every game. But you also wanted something that's flexible enough where you can be side by side with her, and have that procedural generation thing. And this, to that point, this is also a fast game. That one dice, those 3 stats, the procedural generation that you get with that system, that 1d6 system, makes this go really quick,
really fast.
And that's perfect for a kid of 8 years old.
Yes,
with their attention spans being what they are. If you want to get something moving quick and simple and fast, that's the thing, that one of the big things I took away from this game when I read it over from watching you and Stella play on your show. It was fast and like clean, and the thing, if anything holds you up, it's going to be yourself just sitting back and thinking, how am I going to do that?
Yeah.
What am I going to do with this? Getting creative, and which is what we love about our games. It's more time spent in your imagination and less time spent on the calculator.
The name of this game is Speed, like wet hot speed. Like, it is fast, simple, easy to understand. If you are with a bunch of friends and you're like, we want to play role-playing games, we don't know what to play, we don't have a book, you can go on itch for free, download this game, you can read it in 5 minutes, and then you can play it in 10. Like, it is quick. I will have some nitpicks at the end. We always have our nitpick section when we do these deep dives. I will have a couple of nitpicks, but it's quick. One of the things I want to shout out is there is some depth to it as well. Like, it doesn't, I don't want to say it's super deep, because it's not necessarily, nor should it be. But like,
right, it's not meant to be.
It has kind of this weird kind of some elements of depth to it that like. There is a brilliance in the numbers here, because you have these 3 numbers, right? You have a mind stat, a spirit stat, and a physical stat. I mean, I'm gonna say these right. I've got the book in front of me. I made a little book. I always make the books because I like to read them in front of me, so I print them out and put them in 3-ring binders with like stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's a body, a mind, a spirit, right? And then those stats, you get those stats by rolling a d6 and adding 10 each time, okay? So like 5 plus 10, that's your body. 4 plus 10, that's your mind. Whatever. What's really interesting about this game, and this is what I like about it, and also going to be the crux of my nitpick later, but you don't take damage. Like, there's no hit points. Instead, what you have is each of your stats is not just how you react, it's also your health. So, like, let's say you're in combat and you're fighting somebody and you want to, like, really nail them with a big hit. Well, that's a body hit. You can drop your body by 1 point and add a +1 to your roll. Okay? Like, you're putting that extra oomph into it. But here's the trick, and this is what I absolutely love about this system, is that your health is also that. So when you're taking physical damage, you're taking body damage. When you're taking mental damage, like insanity damage or whatever, you're taking it to your mind. When you're taking willpower, like when your morale is getting broken, you're taking it to spirit. I absolutely love this. I love this system. It makes it so interesting and fun, and like, oh, I took a punch. Yeah, but was it a hard punch to your body, or was it more like a spiritual punch to the point where, like, oh, I can't beat this guy, and your morale drops? Like, there's so many ways to interpret damage and interpret the things you're doing. Plus, you have to balance this kind of level of like, I have to spend my health to do better at things, you know? So it's this
Right.
constant like how low do I want to get my body? Because I'm not getting it back till I sleep or heal. And if I meet another orc or whatever, they're gonna hit me and kill me, and that's gonna suck, you know?
And like conceptually, that's sort of equating to exhaustion, which makes sense. One of the things that people kind of get hung up on HP, and it kind of transferred over to video games, as health points where it was originally hit points. It's, like if somebody hits you with a sword, you're fucking dead. I mean, you're just dead. Like it doesn't. If somebody actually lands a hit on a human being with a sword, they're done.
Yeah.
But this is giving it more of that, concept of, okay, it's not that you got hit in the head with a sword and now your HP drops down by so many. It's like you're getting exhausted, you're getting taken down.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a bump, maybe it's wearing out, and this concept that he put in there of like your health being tied and your all of your stats being tied to an ability of some kind, your attacks, maybe you're casting a magic spell, whatever it is, and utilizing it is like your body getting more and more exhausted, and by the end of the day you're dragging yourself through this scenario, and it just sort of pieces itself together really well narratively.
Yeah, I usually don't like games where the stats are fluid like this, but he does such a good job of like making the game about like the economy of you, basically. Like here's what you have available in your character. You have to get from point A to point B. When are you going to use the things that you have? When are you going to lose the things that you know what I mean? It's about managing that economy, and I think that that's really cool. There is straight up a module that when I read this, I want to write for this game, but I asked him if I could write it in an email, and he hasn't responded, so I don't know if I've got the okay yet, and I don't really have the time right now. It's going to have to be after my schedule frees up a little bit, when I'm dead. But I really want to write this module because I think this game lends itself to so many things. The first thing I thought, and I know my brain always goes here, but professional wrestling for this is just so perfect. You have 3 stats, a count of 3 to win. You have to use your things to get exhausted while dealing damage. Like, it just needs some tweaks, and it could be the coolest professional wrestling game. Nice, simple. Plus, it could be what I've always been looking at for my Unicorn, which is a game that's as much fun to play as a person who's playing as a wrestler as it is to manage a wrestling league in. And I think that this game could do that because it's so simple and straightforward. But I love this game. I think it's great. I'm definitely going to endeavor to try more of his games, but I want to talk about something else if we can. If you don't want. I want to talk about his generation stuff. I love it. First of all, one of the coolest things I like about the way he writes this book, his character creation is towards the back, which is interesting. Like, it's only like, what is it? Looking at it now, it is 16 pages with the credits. Okay, that's it. That's all it is. Page 7 has rules for generating your world. Simple, easy rules, but like that kind of stuff I love. When you take it out of my, like, let's just see what you play in, And this right off the bat has like very simple and easy rules for like, is this a past game? Is this a utopian or dystopian? There's a small nitpick on this page that I'm going to talk about later, but like it's got climate and all of this stuff. One of the things I also like is he has an entire page called the Oracle, which he just devotes to like, hey, if you want to deal with like asking questions, is this door locked? Is it not locked? Here's the answer. 50-50 or not, what's the weather like outside, like roll for it. And then in addition to that, at the back, he just has some generic tables for a scenario, like something for finding a weapon, discoveries. He just has some but they're all very simple,
Yeah.
simple, very small. They're not like extremely in depth, which I'm not saying extremely in depth is bad. There are games where you want that level of like, ooh, I procedurally generate this, but especially when I'm playing with my 8-year-old, I don't want to spend 30 minutes in the map, in the even the tables. So like, I give her a roll, it gives me an idea, and we roll with it. You know what I mean? And it's that simple, and it's quick. He has a very elegant and really cool, like, world generation system.
Yeah. When I was looking at this, something that struck me that I really appreciate about this, that I've noticed, I also really appreciated with the last Tea Shop, because I've been really thinking about what makes some of these sort of procedural generations a little bit better than others. And what it seems to be is like this openness to the prompts that gives you just enough structure to come up with something really cool, but not so much where it really shoehorns you into a certain direction,
Right.
or closes off any doors for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what these prompts do. That's what the last Tea Shop did, which we've talked about 1,000 times. That's what these prompts seem to do. They're very open-ended. And as I was just looking through them, I was just reading them, ideas came to my head of what that would look like. Okay, what would I do if I landed on this number? Like, it just pops in on you.
Yeah.
And that's what these procedurally generated settings should do, is just inspire you instantly. Like, just, you want to just talk about this thing that this game gave you.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed that. And one thing I'd like to double down on for the structure of the book and the game overall, that I actually really liked, is the symmetry of the build of the game, of the mechanics.
Yeah.
And what I enjoyed about that so much is it's a very straightforward game. Everything's based off of 1d6, so it's very easy to do this with that, like, narrow of a path of just 1d6. But all of the mechanics look like each other in some way. Like, if you start reading it through, it's very intuitive to learn the next step of the mechanics. Once you learn, like, combat, it's very intuitive to learn the tables. It's very intuitive to learn your health, your character generation, because they're so similar in so many different ways. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it is. I really enjoy how the way he goes through the book. Actually, it's an interesting read, to be honest. I know it's just 16 pages, but one of the things when I wrote my game was, I think one of the most challenging things as a person writing a role-playing game, like actually writing an RPG, is the formatting. I've thought this since I started doing it. I've published 2 games now. 2 games. And, like, one of the things that I've always found very difficult is, where do I put the character creation? Where do I put the combat? Where do I put the basic play? Where is people going to want to see this? Are they going to want to know how the game is played before they make their character? Are they going to want to make their characters before they know how it is played? I know that sounds silly, but I feel like that is such an interesting conversation when it comes to writing in games. And I think he does a really good job of, like, each page kind of... One of the things I liked about it is each page is its own thing. Like, every page has its own, like, this is this page's thing, which almost makes it, like, kind of brings it away from the formatting at all, because once you've read through it at all, you're like, okay, I need to go to this page, and then you just go to that page, and it has everything you need about that page. Like, experience, 1 page, combat, 1 page, character creation, 1 page, the Oracle, 1 page, and like, stuff like that I think is really cool. I really like it. The only times I got hung up is, I said experience 1 page. That's not true. The experience is, like, just towards the end, but, like, he only writes about the experience for like a paragraph. That's the only time I got messed up, when his rules were so simple he couldn't put them all on a page. So it's like, okay, where is that one? But like the formatting of this book is just great. You know, I've always done my books from a standpoint of the steps to play something that you are doing. So like the thing you would need first, you need to know what the game is. That's your introduction. What's the thing you need second? You need to make a character. Here's how you make a character. Okay, well, you also, because of the character, will understand some of the building blocks. Okay, now you need to know the basic play. Not combat, just basic play. Then we expound on that with combat. Then we get into the ancillary stuff like equipment and advancement and stuff like that. Advancement is always towards the end of my books because I feel like it's the last thing you're doing at a PlayStation, not the play session, not the first, you know? So,
Right.
like, that's the thing. That's where you'd want it. His book is just so well done in that kind of way. It doesn't follow my formatting at all, but his formatting is perfect. Like, character creation is exactly where character creation should be. I like that, like, you create first it's like, here's how this game is played. Now create a world. You know, I love that the world generation is before the character creation. A lot of books that would be an appendix towards the back, but like his is right up front because you need a world to play in, you know?
Right. Right. And one final note, because this is so easy to understand and so straightforward, and this is like core rules. One thing that I really liked about it is, you know, they do have like create your world, but this thing is ripe for modules. When you said that you were thinking about turning this into a wrestling game, the very first thing I just instantaneously started thinking of how you could do that.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Because it's so adaptable, and it wants to be adapted, and it wants to be used and turned into something. You know, the spirit equation here could be easily just called charisma, and now you're fighting back and forth with your argument. You know, you're talking smack to the other guy.
Yeah, you're using that for promos. Yep.
Exactly.
That's exactly what I was thinking in my head. You have this. I've said this before, I think, on this channel. I love games that are just a foundation. They're not the mansion. They're just a foundation. That's one of the things that D&D lost, I think, somewhere along the way. Anytime I berate D&D, my biggest problem with D&D is D&D's rules are so utterly tied to what it is. Whereas, I don't want a game like that. I want you to give me a really strong one-bedroom house. And then I want you to tell me that I can add whatever I want to it. And then I will build the rest, you know? That was the thought process for me when I was doing single mod, and I still haven't quite accomplished that strong foundation. Hopefully 2.0 does that. But, like, that's what I wanted, was like, here's the game. Now we're going to just build stuff on top. Touchstone is perfect for that. It is just such a strong, simple foundation that's like, oh, once you have that basic concept, then you can just start. And if you want to be complicated, if you want a more complicated game, just heap the rules on. Because the basis is there. You can just build so much onto it that it's never going to crumble as long as you have that base, you know?
Yeah.
Do you want to do nitpicks? Because I have a couple, in all fairness.
Yeah. Why don't we do nitpicks now? I actually don't have nitpicks. This one's a little hard for me to nitpick on.
And I don't want him to be insulted when I do these nitpicks, because they are very small nitpicks, and I think in a lot of ways they are personal taste for me, not so much him. Okay?
Okay.
Like, I think he wrote the game that he should have wrote. I don't think that there's anything wrong with what he wrote. I want to disclaimer that with this. But we always do nitpicks when we do this. And I did come up with a couple, to be fair to all the other games that we nitpicked. One of my nitpicks, I think probably the crux of my nitpicks, is he has these huge sections for skills and knowledges and stuff like that. Like, show you guys the character sheet here. Sorry, everybody. Dead air while I look for a character sheet to show people who are probably listening. But like right here, this whole section is knowledges and skills. Then this is inventory, which is awesome that it's a lot of space, but this is just knowledge and skills. And I went through it 3 times. Then I actually messaged him. I was just like, what do knowledge and skills do? Nothing. They're flavor. I would put something to that. I would put knowledges and skills. Basically, I wouldn't give them a number because the system needs to stay that nice and simple thing. What I would do is I would say, if you have a knowledge or skill of the thing you're doing, you can spend points on a 1 for 2 basis. You know, something along those lines. So you're spending less points, and that's it. It doesn't go up, it doesn't go down. But like, I feel like knowledges and skills should have some sort of bearing on the system. That being said, he does what he wants with the system. I don't want to knock. I like the system. I'm just saying, if I were to do it, I would, right off the bat, say that knowledges and skills had some sort of effect, just a little bit. So, like, the only problem, and it's not even really a problem, I'm being overtly nice because we nitpicked the other games, but now I'm like going out of my way to disclaimer this one because I want him to come on the show. But the only problem I had with this was it's so simple. Like, it's just those numbers. There's so much room. There's so much potential to go just a little bit further. So, like, I'm trying to think of a good example here. Like the whole system of like the way the like there's just like it's right. It's like one step from being holy shit. You know what I mean? Like, does that make sense?
Yeah, like you, it's very, very clean cut, streamlined.
Yes, very clean cut and streamlined. I think a little bit of complication, just a little bit more, would be nice. Like, there's also a couple of things I feel like he could add to it just to make it even better. So, like, in his world generation, this was my other very small nitpick. In his world generation, nowhere does it say, like, fantasy world. He doesn't have, like, a chart for fantasy world. The only chart he has is, like, let me look here. Ancient past, far past, near present, near future, far future. That's cool, but I would love... He does say over here, is it a historical setting or a fantasy setting? And maybe you could ask the Oracle at that point. But I would love a chart for that. You know what I mean? Like, instead of this paragraph about him just telling me, like, you could ask this or you could ask that, I would love just like a 6... It's only 6 dies anyway. Like 6 numbers. Like, I would love a little chart. Fantasy setting, historical setting, you know, alternate history setting, you know, something like that. Just a couple of little bit more charts. I guess my big nitpick is more. Like, it's such a good system. I want more out of it. And, like, you know?
No, I get that. I'll be like, so to that point, when I was reading through this and thinking about this, the things that just kept coming to my mind, everything was so inspiring, which is why I went back to these open-ended prompts and the last eShop and those sort of solo RPG games that are just built to inspire you. And I wanted to build a supplement to this, basically just because I was so inspired by the rules. Just keep everything pretty much the same, and then flavor it just a little bit for outer space. I don't know why. Outer space is where my mind went. You went to wrestling. I went to exploration and space.
Always
battles.
Go to wrestling. Always go to wrestling. I got a problem. I got a sickness, everybody. I got a fever. The only cure, wrestling.
And, like, I just felt like this was like a baseline, you know, building block for your game. And that's kind of what it's meant to be. You know, it's very much meant to be, you know, the basic rules to control your actions and give you structure within the game. But it's really on you to use your imagination to fill that out and expand upon it. And I just kept coming up with, like, other things that I could do with a D6 table roll. Like, how many lasers does a ship have or something? What kind of weaponry?
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Oh, it's so easy. It's so easy.
Yeah,
It's so, and that's what I like about it. It's quick. It's concise. It's to the point. Yeah, and please, if Cyrus Wright, if you are listening to the show, we would love to have you on. And do not take my nitpicks to heart, because honestly, like I said, my biggest problem is I want more. But at the same time, to play devil's advocate to myself, like if there was more, it would be harder for my kid to understand it. You know, it would be
sure.
like the fact that it's not more, and it allows you to put whatever you want on it, is great. I'm not gonna lie. If I play this with adults, I'm going to add the little skill system. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that, and that's going to be awesome. You know, if I ever do get clearance from him to write up a wrestling mod for this, there's going to be a little extra flavory statistical stuff added in. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think the baseline for this is great. What he's built there is that strong foundation that anybody can build a house on, and I just love that. And they can build whatever house they want. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And back to talking about the symmetry of the rule system. When you read through the rule system, it's going to be so easy for you to build out like this skill tree system or whatever it is you're wanting to do, because it has such a cadence through the entire book on how the rules work. It's super intuitive. You're going to be able to just add a whole new table, a whole new rule system like that, and expand upon it.
It's so malleable because it's a core concept, but a fleshed out core concept. It's so malleable, and it's a great game. It's a great game, and it's a great way to, like, I'm going to say this. Anybody out there with kids who are trying to get them into it, this is a good place to start. I know there's a lot of good kid games out there. You can also, we had TTRPG Kids on here on our show before. They were wonderful, and they are really good at recommending games. They love to recommend games. I'm going to recommend this one. This one has worked for her. She rolls 1d6. I will say she never wants to use any of her points because she's afraid she's going to get killed if she does. But other than that, she loves it. It's simple. It's quick. Plus, it'll also generate it. So if you are having one of those kids where they're like, I don't want to play against Daddy, you can play with her, and then both of you kind of decide the storyline. One of the things I've really also liked is Stella is... And you guys all see as you start to play. Stella is very creative with the story and kind of controlling with the story. She likes to be involved in the story part as well as just the character part. She doesn't like to just sit in the back seat. And I appreciate that as a game master and a dungeon master of Days of Yore. But I think that... one of the things that's nice about this is I can have her roll on the Oracle chart and be like, okay, well, with that roll, what do you think is going to happen to Daddy? You know, and that's kind of cool because it's getting her on both ends. It's getting her on the player end and the game master end a little bit, and it's been a lot of fun.
Sounds like you got a little DM in training.
Maybe we'll see. We'll see. We got one session in. We'll see how into it she is the second session. That's the real. That's the kicker with the kid. I can always get her to do something once. If I can't get her to do it twice, she's not that into it.
Gotcha. Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed then.
I will as well.
Well, I feel like. Do you have any last thoughts on this game?
No, like I said, I think it's super easy, super simple. If you are in a position where you need a system to play in, you want to build something on this system, it's great for you. If you just need a system to randomly play something with some friends, it's great for you. If you've got kids or new RPers, again, D&D is not the way to go for new role players. This is a much better onboard to role-playing games because it focuses on the thing that all role-playing games should focus on, the role-playing. And that's, like, I can't recommend this game enough. I think, especially since it's freaking free on itch.io, and it's only a 16-page read, like, it's nice to have, man. It's nice
Yeah.
to have. Just it's a nice little game to use, and I'm definitely going to be using it in the future. Also, just check out Cyrus Wright. Dude produces like a game a week. It's ridiculous. A lot of them are like solo games and procedurally generated games. He does a lot of procedural generation, a lot of simple D6 things, and like he just released one where you play like Native American type characters, but it's you're part of the tribe. Like he does a lot of stuff where you're part of a tribe or part of this. There's another one where you like wake up in a post-apocalyptic future. Like so many cool things that he does. Check him out on itch.io. Can't recommend the guy enough. Hopefully we can get him on this show.
Yeah. Yeah. I really enjoyed the read. I'm definitely looking forward to tinkering around with this myself a little bit more. This is going to be one of my back pocket games. I've been meaning to do this article for 100 years, but there's those days where half your table doesn't show up to a big long game that you're working. You don't want to send everybody home. Pull out a game like this.
Yes.
Have everybody read it in 10 minutes. You still have game day. You're still having fun with your friends. It can make perfect for a one shot. And then have a little mini side campaign where like when people don't show up, you play Touchstone instead.
This would be a great action system, like action movie system, just to do like one shot action movie, because you're always gonna kind of win, and it's more about how much winning you're gonna do before you tap out. It'd be a great system for that. Great system for that.
Yeah. All right. Well, before we close it out for today, Zach, is there anything you want to shout out?
We have so much TTRPG content on Old Man Gaming right now. You can find, I believe, all of it here on wizardsrespite.com. We've got, I'm very proud of the playthrough that we are doing. We use single mod to do a Doctor Who adjacent storyline in the Doctor Who universe. And I'm very proud of those games. They're 9 episodes. We're 4 in. You can find them on Spotify or my channel. I'm very proud of them. And of course, we've plugged it already a bunch. Bite-sized games every Saturday. Myself and my kid were playing small games, but I really like that format of just quick 15-minute episodes. So, already dropped, if you're listening to this last Tuesday, myself and Wizard have gone back into Last Tea Shop. You guys love the Last Tea Shop content, but we've decided to cut it into a customer per episode, and each season we're going to switch off who the tea shop owner is. First one is up right now. I think it's called the Potato Farmer. You can go check that out on Spotify or, again, my channel or wizardsrespite.com. I gave him all the links to that for certain. And we're gonna keep doing those. It's called The Last Tea Shop, The Endless Road. I'm very proud of all the TTRPG stuff we have going on. Of course, Astral Drive, TMNT, all of the stuff. And then, if I might be so bold, I think it will be published by the time I do this, but my 2.0 rules are coming out either this week or next week for single mod, and I correct a lot of the mistakes I made in the first 2 versions. The first version and a half. And I think it's in a nice foundation spot, so hopefully everybody out there downloads it and plays it. And again, if you already purchased it, you'll get it for free. All you have to do is just go back to itch and download the new version, basically. Sorry for all that plugs. I got a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah, it's been a busy few months.
It has been.
We've been hacking at so many different projects.
Yes.
But we're getting some conclusions going. We're getting some of these on air. For me, wizardsrespite.com. All of these episodes are going to be viewed there. All of these shows that are RPG related are going to be up there. We also do articles that break down different tips and tricks for DMs, players. We even go into industry dynamics, statistics, and regarding what genres are doing well, and kind of take a crunchy look at the business side of it. And I'm now selling T-shirts on there and wearing one of them as we speak. All of them are going to be RPG themed. Old Man Gaming also has t-shirts up, and they are live now. You can swing by there, go to
I'm
our
also
shop, check
helping
it out.
him with his merchandise, and that is a ton of fun. I love designing t-shirts.
Yeah, yeah, and it has been a lot of fun. We got some great designs up there.
First two shirts I
And
get when I have money are going to be one of mine, because I think I've got a new shirt coming up soon, the algorithm proof shirt, and then the one shirt. I think I'm
yeah,
very proud of that shirt.
yeah, that's a really solid shirt. Um, and yeah, I think that's it. So we good for tonight?
We're good for tonight, boss. Do the sign off. Let's get done.
All right. Well, for everybody out there, thanks for listening, and keep rolling them dice.